Today I'll be reviewing Minions, the spin-off slash prequel in the Despicable Me franchise. I was skeptical of a standalone movie without Gru, but I realized there would be humans with a command of the English language that would take his place, so we would be subjected to 90 minutes of gibberish. Without Gru and time spent on character development and relationships, we get a higher frequency of jokes than the first two movies. We have a very basic 3-act movie structure, and every scene is an excuse to have the Minions involved in physical comedy or a musical number. Universal took the old Looney Tunes formula and updated it for the 21st century. There are no poignant Randy Newman moments in this movie, but kids will eat it up. I know I would have. This movie is all about what it's like to be a henchman for a cartoon supervillain. And even though the story and characters aren't deep, that part of the movie is very much so. We find out the Minions' backstory, and apparently they're immortal, yet stuck in pre-adolescence. They have no job skills and haven't evolved emotionally in millions of years. And their sole purpose in life is to provide moral support to villains who commit cartoonish violence. They only live for mischief or they cry. They're bipolar yellow smurfs. If we got inside their heads, they'd only have joy and sadness, and they would only speak gibberish. Basically, the Minions would love Wile E. Coyote or Spy vs. Spy or Marvin the Martian. If you're a fan of the Venture Brothers, this movie feels like a companion piece to that show. The Minions even go to a villain con, and I felt like I was watching the Venture Brothers during that part of the movie. This is the kind of movie I would have dismissed as a teenager. Like, that's for toddlers. I wanted to watch dirty comedies like Clerks and There's Something About Mary, because they were R-rated and felt taboo. But I can't think of a recent dirty comedy that was as funny as Minions. I laughed at just as many parts in this movie as any of the Hangover movies. I guess I have the same sense of humor I had when I was 8. I hit adolescence, went to college, got a job and a mortgage, and now I've come full circle. There are some notable celebrities voicing the human characters, namely Sandra Bullock as the new supervillain Scarlet Overkill. I think of her as playing sweet-natured characters, and I hardly recognized it was her with this sneering demeanor who is a total megalomaniac. She's just a mean bitch who's a couple notches below the Queen of Hearts. Scarlet is like one of Cinderella's wicked stepsisters with weapons supplied by Acme. Jon Hamm's character serves dual roles as Scarlet's husband and the token inventor guy, Herb Overkill. I wonder if he took her last name because he's harmless, though his mod hairstyle reminded me of Noel Gallagher from Oasis. So at worst he's an asshole, but no supervillain. And he was funny, he sounded like he was channeling Alec Baldwin. And Michael Keaton is great as the dad in a bank-robbing family. I thought those were great characters that could have almost had a spin-off for themselves, like an evil version of The Incredibles. This movie is mostly set in 60s London, and we get a lot of licensed songs from that era from the likes of groups like The Who and the Beatles. It's almost out of place for this movie because the parents of today's children probably didn't even grow up in the 60s. It's like a cultural learning experience exposing kids to 60s music before they go to college and learn about Pink Floyd. This movie has its flaws since it's not a 5-minute sketch. It has to be judged as a feature-length film. The Minions ultimately don't grow as characters or learn anything. This movie features 3 of the Minions, the leader Kevin, the guitar-obsessed Stuart, and little Bob, who's like the Ike from South Park of the group. Since the Minions were featured so heavily, I would have liked to have seen more variety in the group. There can't be a Smurfette Minion or a Brain Minion that sounds like Tony Randall. They could have said that Gru got rid of them because he just wanted all the dumbest ones that would follow orders blindly. But every Minion ever is like that. I feel like the voice talent for the human characters were underutilized as well. We just get some great cameos, and you don't feel a connection to the characters or even care about the story. It's all about the jokes, so the movie won't stick with you. It's more like watching a block of cartoons on Saturday morning, when they still had cartoons on Saturday morning. It's still a solid entry in the franchise, and I want to see what else they can do with it. Illumination Entertainment may not be Pixar, but I've liked everything they've done so far, even their contribution to the Despicable Me ride at Universal Studios. I give this movie a 7, and at the very least it will continue to find usefulness as something to occupy kids for 90 minutes when it comes out on cable. So I'll see you next time, and tell me what you thought about Minions in the comments below.